Hi, I'm Ricky Alexander.
And I'm Meg Farrell.
And welcome to the Back Porch. We are here today with an incredible reed player, arranger, jazz historian, collector, Mr. Dan Levinson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
So Dan, you're inspiring in so many ways, one of which is hearing that you started saxophone and clarinet at age 23 and 20 respectively. How did you get into playing old jazz at that age, and why did you choose the saxophone?
Well, I didn't actually. I chose the clarinet. I loved music, always loved music, but I never had the discipline to learn anything. I messed around with piano and played ragtime piano for a few minutes when I was 16 years old. I loved ragtime. I moved to New York in 1983 when I was 18 to attend NYU, which I think you did
too,
that's right. Well. And I used to go to Eddie Condon's and hear the bands there. And then at one point, I was halfway through college and realized that I was going to have to find a way to make a living. And I didn't play an instrument. I wanted to play music. I also wasn't content just to sit there in the audience and listen. So I rented a clarinet and took some lessons. I began studying with Ken Poplawski. I started with the clarinet and just practiced incessantly. You know, I was a drama major, I'm embarrassed to say. I was a major. My classes ended in the early afternoon, and I went over into the NYU practice rooms at 35 West 4th. I'm sure you're familiar with those in the building. And I would stay there until they threw me out at 11 p.m. and practice incessantly. In those days, we didn't have cell phones and computers to distract us. It was just me and my instrument.
Incredible, wow.
And the music. I also got a job working as personal assistant to Dick Hyman.
Wow.
Who's still living at 96 years old. I mean, I did everything from menial chores, filing and running errands, also just being around him and being around such a brilliant man, not only brilliant as a musician, but as a businessman. And a lot of musicians overlook the fact that success in this industry is not just based on how well you play your instrument. In fact, it's more based on how great a businessman you are. And Dick Hyman is the one who said to me, you know, Dan, you can't make a living just playing clarinet. You have to play saxophone and probably flute as well, but certainly saxophone. And I said, well, Benny Goodman didn't play saxophone. And Dick said, well, yes, he did. Early in his career, before he formed his own band, he did play saxophone. And besides that, he said, Benny Goodman was Benny Goodman.
So Dan, at a certain point, serious question, you were diagnosed with cancer in your throat. From what you tell me, it's affected your playing and your speech in certain ways. Do you mind talking about how that part of your life, how you overcame it?
I don't mind at all. I was 33. It was 1998, and everything seemed to be going really well. I was getting a lot of high-profile work. I had a cover story in the Mississippi Rag, which was then the traditional jazz newspaper that was circulated all over the world, and everything seemed to be going great. And then I noticed a bump. It was right on my jawline here, and had it biopsied, and it turned out to be squamous cell carcinoma, where the primary was in the back of the throat here. I mean, they still don't know how I got that. And in January 1999, well, I should say that I was about to have a type of surgery called a median mandibulotomy, which involved removing the tumor, the primary, by splitting the jaw and the lip, and that would have been a career ender for sure. I was scheduled to have that done, and I have a cousin who is a pathologist, and she said, I'd like you to see a doctor who's chairman of the otolaryngology department at Mount Sinai. His name is Mark Erkin. They did some more tests, and they said, well, the median mandibulotomy is one option. I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to give you the option of just doing surgery on the neck to remove the lymph nodes, and we'll treat the primary with radiation chemotherapy. I said, so you wouldn't have to break my jaw? And he said, no. I said, what are my chances of survival, one versus the other? He said, roughly the same. So I went ahead with that, with his plan, and he did what they call a bilateral neck dissection. Not that that's pleasant, but he didn't have to break my jaw open, split my lip. And, you know, getting a cancer diagnosis when you're 33 years old and you think you're going to live forever, and you got your whole life in front of you, and suddenly you realize you might not live to see 34. I remember that day. In fact, I was in Columbus with Terry Waldo. It was about an hour and a half before the performance started that I got the phone call, and I had to go on stage, and you know, the show must go on. So I went through surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and I was able to play almost immediately after the surgery, but the radiation chemotherapy, that took away my ability to play for 3 months. So I took some time off. It was good. And when I came back in May of 1999, I had a new perspective. I'll tell you one thing. I felt like I finally had a right to play the blues.
you.